I'm very interested in the idea of where the brain stops and the mind starts. Or maybe that's not even a question we can ask. Maybe we'll find out that the question doesn't make sense on some level. But I still think it's an interesting idea to think about how our brains, these physical things, can give rise to mental phenomenon which seems sort of completely separated from our body in some sense. How does that happen? How do we feel it? Things like that. And it's not like the answer is right around the corner, but we are starting to get some insights into how we can connect things in the brain to things like consciousness or free will, these kind of big questions.
I know you're talking about neuro and all that, which is beyond my understanding, but in terms of like facial, I was calling everybody as to government agencies and, authorities, but nobody seemed to really care, and I only have the phone to talk to them. So I did mention about people while they're sleeping, like I cannot tell at all, but the next day when you get up, you can see the whole, there's like the whole skin gone. I know there's no injury, and I've also had first-hand experience where I had a big cut, but the next morning it's almost healed. So if that's the case, I think they can easily shave off, and it'll look quite normal. And I'm very observant and very smart, and right now I don't work, so I have all the time in the world to look in the mirror. We don't have that much time, and people live in apartments.
What's the question?
So, were you aware of? So I think, the lady, you should be thankful of me if you want to carry on, and So please be patient, okay? Because there's not many people asking questions. So I'm elaborating a little bit, and I'm not from this country, so please pardon my language. So that's a scary thing. And then I go to many of these events that are taking place in the city, and I see some people, they made a big hole there, and the nose is like completely crooked. And so I was like, oh, when they take my portion, like a strip, I cannot tell anything. And what if they do that? It still will be the same, but you'll be totally disfigured. You know what I mean? And unless you're super rich, you cannot redo.
Okay, so in the book I do talk a little bit about
okay, so
what it's like
my
to
question
look.
is, who is doing this? If the Masons, I think whether they are popular these days, I don't know. And if they're trying to make money, we should discuss.
Okay, well, why don't you come up and we can maybe discuss afterward.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So if they're trying to make business, we all should be involved and be aware and educate others. And I know there's a lot of ugly things going on, and we should discuss this. We don't need extra people now. We have enough opportunity to make money, because now it's like all globalized.
Okay.
So you guys should push. Not just sit and write. It's so. I feel like puking.
Okay. Why don't we take?
We just need to do something more. You know what I mean? Okay. Thank you.
Are there any differences detected in some of these cases, all of these cases, when you have male and female people who've gone through these traumas?
I did not get into that, and I have not really seen a whole lot of evidence that really supports that. I do think that there are some differences in size in some cases, but most women are, smaller than men, so it would make sense they would have slightly smaller brains. But size of the brain doesn't have a strong correlation with what's going on with intelligence anyway. So Albert Einstein had one of the smallest brains they have ever seen. He had a very, very tiny, tiny brain when they took it out of his head. So the size of your brain really doesn't have that strong correlation with intelligence. And as far as other things in the brain, I've never really seen a lot of good evidence that there are serious differences between men and women. And in fact, I would suspect if you took the range of all male brains and took the range of all female brains, you would see more difference between them than any average differences.
Actually, this isn't so much a question as I just want to thank you because books like this I find very interesting and tend to humanize what happens to people. I know quite a few people who suffer from traumatic brain injuries, closed or open, and I just have to say, the one thing I wish people would stress a little bit more is that, as the one physician brought up, we do have CTs and MRIs, fMRIs, but one thing neurologists continue to rely on is just talking to the patient, just having an interaction one-on-one. They can learn a lot more. And as this one retired surgeon, a heart surgeon or a vascular surgeon said, many of his injuries didn't actually show up on the scans immediately, or the damage from it didn't.
Right.
So, one thing I hope other people can get from your book is that it humanizes the people who go through this, and that hopefully people will know if they don't quite feel right, or Bob hasn't been quite right since he fell off his bicycle that they should definitely talk to somebody.
Yeah, that's a good point. So thank you.